Quand tu m'as parlé de ton idée de Jenga géant, j'ai été plus que sceptique.
Salut tout le monde et bienvenue! In this video, we're going to be learning French with the Big Bang Theory. First, you'll watch the whole scene with subtitles. Then, we'll go through the scene together and break down the most challenging words and expressions. And finally, you'll rewatch the scene without subtitles to test your knowledge. Vous êtes prêts? Allez, c'est parti!
Je dois bien avouer, Léonard, qu'au début, quand tu m'as parlé de ton idée de Jenga géant, j'ai été plus que sceptique.
C'est un peu normal, le mini twister c'était pas terrible.
Oh non, c'est moi qui avais tort. Cette menace imminente de se retrouver complètement écrabouillé sous d'épaisses planches de bois, ça donne un certain piment au jeu. Je me suis jamais senti aussi vivant. Oh, bonjour Alex, je vais vous donner les enregistrements de la nuit dernière.
Quels enregistrements?
Tu te rappelles m'avoir signalé que je parle dans mon sommeil. Voilà, il m'est venu à l'esprit que toutes les choses que je dis doivent valoir leur pesant d'or.
Ouais.
Alors, j'ai commencé à tout enregistrer et Alex va devoir décrypter environ 8 heures de ce que j'appelle dorénavant le Sheldon nocturne.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. On fait un Jenga géant.
Ah, je sais, il m'a envoyé acheter le casque. Vous avez des projets pour ce week-end?
Ben, on va sûrement passer notre samedi à essayer de trouver un rangement pour ce jeu. Et vous?
Oh, je vais à la conférence de Kip Thorne sur l'espace-temps subatomique.
Oh, sur sa vision de la mousse quantique de John Wheeler, ça va être passionnant.
Vous pouvez venir avec moi si ça vous dit.
J'adorerais, mais normalement je dois voir Penny.
Emmenez-la.
Oh non, ça l'intéresse pas trop ces genres de trucs.
Ah oui, je vois. Si vous voulez, je vous parlerai de la conférence quand on se croisera au travail ou quand un jour on ira manger ensemble.
Jenga géant, j'ai gagné!
Now that you've watched the whole scene, let's break down the most difficult words and expressions.
Je dois bien avouer, Léonard, qu'au début, quand tu m'as parlé de ton idée de Jenga géant, j'ai été plus que sceptique.
Je dois bien avouer, Léonard, qu'au début, quand tu m'as parlé de ton idée de Jenga géant, j'ai été plus que sceptique. The French verb avouer means to admit something. For example, j'ai avoué que je lui avais menti. I admitted that I had lied to him. So the whole sentence is, I have to admit, Leonard, that when you told me about your idea for giant Jenga, I was more than skeptical. These days, j'avoue has also become a slang way of saying, yeah, or you're so right, especially among young people. For example, you might hear, ce film est nul. This movie is lame. Ouais, j'avoue, you're so right.
C'est un peu normal, le mini twister c'était pas terrible.
C'est un peu normal, le mini twister, c'était pas terrible. It's only natural, mini twister was not great. C'est normal, or c'est un peu normal, means it's only natural, as in, it's normal, it's reasonable. Leonard is saying that it's only natural for Sheldon to doubt his giant Jenga idea, given how mini twister turned out. You might also hear c'est normal used in the sense of don't mention it. For example, merci de m'avoir remboursé pour le dîner. Thanks for reimbursing me for dinner. C'est normal. Don't mention it. It's only natural.
C'est un peu normal, le mini twister c'était pas terrible.
Pas terrible is an expression you hear all the time in French, but it's a bit confusing at first. You would think that pas terrible, not terrible, would mean that something was good. But in fact, it's just the opposite. Pas terrible means that something isn't great. The reason for this is that the word terrible can actually mean terrible, like in English, or it can mean terrific. So when people say that something is pas terrible, they're actually saying that it's not terrific, or not great. For example, you might hear, tu as déjà mangé dans ce restaurant? Have you ever eaten in this restaurant before? Ouais, c'est pas terrible. Yeah, it's not great. So what Leonard is saying is that his idea for mini twister wasn't great.
Oh non, c'est moi qui avais tort.
Oh non, c'est moi qui avais tort. No, I was wrong. Or literally, no, it is I who was wrong. Avoir tort means to be wrong. Now in English, you would use the verb to be here. You would say, I was wrong. But in French, we use the verb to have, avoir. So we say, j'avais tort. I had wrong. And if you're right about something, you would say, j'avais raison. I had right. So what Sheldon is saying is that he was wrong to doubt Leonard's giant Jenga idea.
Oh non, c'est moi qui avais tort. Cette menace imminente de se retrouver complètement écrabouillé sous d'épaisses planches de bois, ça donne un certain piment au jeu.
Cette menace imminente de se retrouver complètement écrabouillé sous d'épaisses planches de bois, ça donne un certain piment au jeu. Se retrouver means to find oneself or to end up. For example, je me suis retrouvé face à face avec un grizzly. I found myself face to face with a grizzly bear. Or, je suis tombé dans l'escalier et je me suis retrouvé à l'hôpital. I fell on the stairs and ended up in the hospital. In our scene, however, what Sheldon is afraid of is se retrouver complètement écrabouillé. Écrabouillé means crushed or squished. For example, la fleur a été écrabouillée par sa grosse chaussure. The flower was crushed by his big shoe. It's good to be aware that écrabouillé is a pretty informal word. So if you're speaking in a more formal setting, you would probably want to use écrasé, which has the same meaning. Sheldon says that the menace of finding yourself completely crushed under thick wooden planks, ça donne un certain piment au jeu.
Cette menace imminente de se retrouver complètement écrabouillé sous d'épaisses planches de bois, ça donne un certain piment au jeu.
Donne un certain piment au jeu means gives the game a certain spice, or makes the game more exciting. You might also hear, c'est la variété qui donne du piment à la vie. Variety is what adds spice to life, meaning that variety makes life more exciting. So the whole sentence is, the imminent menace of finding yourself completely crushed under thick wooden planks gives the game a certain spice.
Je me suis jamais senti aussi vivant.
Je me suis jamais senti aussi vivant means I've never felt so alive. Je me suis senti comes from the reflexive verb se sentir, which means to feel. For example, je me sens bien means I feel good, or comment tu te sens means how do you feel? Personally, I think that reflexive verbs are one of the more difficult concepts to become totally comfortable with in French. They don't really have an equivalent in English, so they're not intuitive for an English-speaking brain. So the best way to become more comfortable with them is just to hear them used again and again in lots of different contexts. This is why I think FluentU is such a great language learning tool. If you look up the verb se sentir in FluentU, you get the definition and a couple of examples, but you also get video examples that show you how it's used in context.
La manière dont il aime se sentir aimé?
Se sentir vivre, être dans la gratitude.
And the best part about these video examples is that they're not just written for a textbook. They're actually showing you how native speakers use these words in real-life settings. In addition to the video dictionary, FluentU also has hundreds of full-length French videos, from YouTube videos to clips from French movies to TED Talks and more. Every video has interactive subtitles that allow you to click on a word and instantly see the definition and examples so that you can learn new vocabulary as you go. And you can even create custom quizzes so that you lock in your learning. But don't just take my word for it, try it out yourself for free for 2 weeks and see how you like it. To start your free trial, just click on the link in the description below.
Oh, bonjour Alex, je vais vous donner les enregistrements de la nuit dernière.
Bonjour Alex, je vais vous donner les enregistrements de la nuit dernière. Hello Alex, I'm going to give you the recordings from last night. Les enregistrements means the recordings. The noun enregistrement comes from the verb enregistrer, which means to record. This is where the English verb to register comes from, because when you register something, you're actually making a record of it, or recording it. There's also something else interesting going on in this sentence. Listen carefully to the way Sheldon addresses Alex.
Oh, bonjour Alex, je vais vous donner les enregistrements de la nuit dernière.
Did you catch it? Sheldon uses the formal pronoun vous to address Alex. Even though they know each other well, Alex is technically his assistant, so they have a more formal work relationship. Sheldon and Leonard, on the other hand, use tu with each other because they're friends and roommates.
Quels enregistrements?
Tu te rappelles m'avoir signalé que je parle dans mon sommeil.
Quels enregistrements? Tu te rappelles m'avoir signalé que je parle dans mon sommeil. Tu te rappelles means you remember, from the reflexive verb se rappeler. Rappeler is just re-appeler, which is exactly like the English verb to recall, which means the same thing as to remember. Signaler quelque chose means to point something out. And you can see how close it is in meaning to the English verb to signal. For example, you could say, je lui ai signalé qu'il avait fait une erreur. I pointed out to him that he had made a mistake. Finally, sommeil means sleep. Now in English, we have the same word for the verb and for the noun. But in French, the verb is dormir and the noun is sommeil. For example, je n'ai pas assez dormi, je manque de sommeil. I didn't sleep enough, I'm short on sleep. So the whole sentence is, tu te rappelles m'avoir signalé que je parle dans mon sommeil. You remember pointing out to me that I talk in my sleep.
Tu te rappelles m'avoir signalé que je parle dans mon sommeil. Voilà, il m'est venu à l'esprit que toutes les choses que je dis doivent valoir leur pesant d'or.
Ouais.
Voilà, il m'est venu à l'esprit que toutes les choses que je dis doivent valoir leur pesant d'or. Il m'est venu à l'esprit literally translates to it came to my mind. But in this context, the best translation would be it occurred to me. Valoir leur pesant d'or is an expression that also exists in English, worth their weight in gold. The verb valoir means to be worth, and it's a handy one to know because it comes up all the time. For example, est-ce que ça vaut la peine? Is it worth the trouble? The whole sentence is, well, it occurred to me that all the things I say must be worth their weight in gold.
Alors, j'ai commencé à tout enregistrer et Alex va devoir décrypter environ 8 heures de ce que j'appelle dorénavant le Sheldon nocturne.
Alors, j'ai commencé à tout enregistrer et Alex va devoir décrypter environ 8 heures de ce que j'appelle dorénavant le Sheldon nocturne. Environ means about or roughly. For example, il y a environ 6 mois is about 6 months ago. Dorénavant means from now on or henceforth. It's a somewhat formal word that you don't usually hear in conversation. So here it's being used partly for comedic effect. But you could hear something like, dorénavant, ce cours aura lieu le lundi. From now on, this class will take place on Mondays. So the whole sentence is, so I started recording everything, and Alex is going to have to decipher around 8 hours of what I now call nocturnal Sheldon.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. On fait un Jenga géant.
Ah, je sais, il m'a envoyé acheter le casque.
Je sais, il m'a envoyé acheter le casque. Envoyer means to send. For example, je lui ai envoyé une lettre. I sent her a letter. So the sentence is, I know. He sent me to buy the helmet.
Vous avez des projets pour ce week-end?
Vous avez des projets pour ce week-end? Un projet can mean a project, just like in English. But in this context, des projets means plans. So Alex is asking, do you have plans for this weekend?
Ben, on va sûrement passer notre samedi à essayer de trouver un rangement pour ce jeu. Et vous?
Ben, on va sûrement passer notre samedi à essayer de trouver un rangement pour ce jeu. Et vous? In this context, passer means to spend. For example, j'ai passé un an en France. I spent a year in France. And what Sheldon and Leonard are spending their Saturday doing is trouver un rangement pour ce jeu. The verb ranger means to put something away. So, un rangement is a place to put something away, or a place to store something. The whole sentence is, well, we'll undoubtedly spend our Saturday trying to find a place to store this game. And you?
Oh, je vais à la conférence de Kip Thorne sur l'espace-temps subatomique.
Oh,
Je vais à la conférence de Kip Thorne sur l'espace-temps subatomique. I'm going to Kip Thorne's conference on subatomic space-time. I would break this down if I could, but if you're here to learn about subatomic space-time, this might be the wrong channel.
sur sa vision de la mousse quantique de John Wheeler, ça va être passionnant.
Sur sa vision de la mousse quantique de John Wheeler, ça va être passionnant. Sa vision means his view on. So for example, sa vision du monde would be his worldview. In this case, it's his view on mousse quantique. Mousse quantique means quantum foam, which again, I cannot help you with. If you look at the word passionnant, you'll see the word passion inside. But be careful, passionnant doesn't actually mean passionate. What it does mean is that something is passionately interesting, or fascinating. So for example, un documentaire passionnant is a fascinating documentary. So the whole sentence is, on his view of John Wheeler's quantum foam. That will be fascinating. By the way, I know we are covering a lot in this video, so we've actually made a free PDF so that you can have all these new words and expressions in one place to look at later. Just click the link in the description to download it.
Vous pouvez venir avec moi si ça vous dit.
Vous pouvez venir avec moi si ça vous dit. Si ça vous dit, or si ça te dit, literally means if it speaks to you. But a better translation in English would be if you like, or if you're up for it. For example, you could say, si ça te dit, j'aimerais bien faire du ski demain. If you're up for it, I'd like to go skiing tomorrow. Ça te dit can also work on its own without the si. For example, du coup, je propose un apéro ce soir chez moi. 19h. Ça te dit? So, I propose drinks tonight at my place. 7 o'clock. What do you say? So to get back to our scene, what Alex is saying is, you can come with me if you like.
Vous pouvez venir avec moi si ça vous dit.
J'adorerais, mais normalement, je dois voir Penny.
J'adorerais, mais normalement, je dois voir Penny. The verb adorer means to love. For example, j'adore ce film. I love this movie. So, j'adorerais means I would love to. It's the verb adorer conjugated in the conditionnel because it's a hypothetical situation. In this context, normalement doesn't actually mean normally. What it actually means is in theory. For example, normalement, ça ne devrait pas être trop difficile. In theory, this shouldn't be too difficult. So the whole sentence is, I'd love to, but in theory, I'm supposed to see Penny.
Emmenez-la.
Oh non, ça l'intéresse pas trop ces genres de trucs.
Emmenez-la. Non, ça l'intéresse pas trop ce genre de truc. Ce genre de truc means this type of thing. Un genre means a type of something. Just like the English word genre for different types of movies and books. And un truc means a thing. So the whole sentence is, no, this type of thing doesn't interest her much.
Ah oui, je vois. Si vous voulez, je vous parlerai de la conférence quand on se croisera au travail ou quand un jour on ira manger ensemble.
Ah oui, je vois. Si vous voulez, je vous parlerai de la conférence quand on se croisera au travail ou quand un jour on ira manger ensemble. Quand on se croisera means when we run into each other. Literally, the verb se croiser means to cross one another. So you can think about the expression to cross paths in English to help you remember. You'll often hear something like on s'est croisé dans la rue. We ran into each other on the street. Un jour can have a couple slightly different meanings. It can mean someday in the sense of some far off time.
Un jour, mon prince viendra.
But it can also mean sometime, as in sometime in the near future, which is the case in this context. So the whole sentence is, if you want, I'll tell you about the conference when we run into each other at work, or when we go eat together sometime. Now that we've reviewed all the challenging vocabulary, it's time to rewatch the video without subtitles.
Je dois bien avouer, Léonard, qu'au début, quand tu m'as parlé de ton idée de Jenga géant, j'ai été plus que sceptique.
C'est un peu normal. Le mini twister, c'était pas terrible.
Oh non, c'est moi qui avais tort. Cette menace imminente de se retrouver complètement écrabouillé sous d'épaisses planches de bois, ça donne un certain piment au jeu. Je me suis jamais senti aussi vivant. Oh, bonjour Alex. Je vais vous donner les enregistrements de la nuit dernière.
Quels enregistrements?
Tu te rappelles m'avoir signalé que je parle dans mon sommeil. Voilà, il m'est venu à l'esprit que toutes les choses que je dis doivent valoir leur pesant d'or.
Ouais.
Alors, j'ai commencé à tout enregistrer et Alex va devoir décrypter environ 8 heures de ce que j'appelle dorénavant le Sheldon nocturne.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. On fait un Jenga géant.
Ah, je sais, il m'a envoyé acheter le casque. Vous avez des projets pour ce week-end?
Ben, on va sûrement passer notre samedi à essayer de trouver un rangement pour ce jeu. Et vous?
Oh, je vais à la conférence de Kip Thorne sur l'espace-temps subatomique.
Oh, sur sa vision de la mousse quantique de John Wheeler, ça va être passionnant.
Vous pouvez venir avec moi si ça vous dit.
J'adorerais, mais normalement, je dois voir Penny.
Emmenez-la.
Oh non, ça l'intéresse pas trop ces genres de trucs.
Ah oui, je vois. Si vous voulez, je vous parlerai de la conférence quand on se croisera au travail ou quand un jour on ira manger ensemble.
Jenga géant, j'ai gagné!
If you want to continue learning French with your favorite TV shows, check out this video where you can test your French with the TV show The Office. Merci d'avoir regardé et on se retrouve dans la prochaine vidéo. À tout de suite.